time to take some Molly. For all your questions, quandaries, and problems, philosophical queries, she's got you covered. Take some Molly!
Welcome to Take Some Molly. I'm your host, Molly Smithson, aka Mall Dog, aka Mall of America, aka Molly Golightly. And on this episode of Take Some Molly, we are taking a deep dive into your weirdest pet questions. So I'm here with Lindsey McGuire. Lindsey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Molly.
Yeah.
Fun. I'm a veterinarian. I've been a veterinarian for a little over 5 years now.
Cool.
And my area of kind of expertise, or where I practice, is actually emergency medicine.
Oh, wow.
I'm not specialized in that, but that's my job.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. What does that usually look like, I guess? Like, what's a typical day of the most common pet injuries or emergencies?
We see a whole variety of things, which I think is why I really like the position.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of, human-induced stuff, hit by cars, dog fights. But, there's a lot of vomiting.
Yeah.
A lot of vomiting. Dogs that eat things they shouldn't. I think those are kind of the top things to see.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. Well, cool. Let's get into some questions if you're good with it.
Yeah.
Okay, our first question, Yuri asks, my daughter died 4 years ago. Her cat will no longer groom himself and keeps meowing all the time. I have taken him to the vet. How do I help him?
This is a tragic way to
I
start.
know.
I'm so sorry, Yuri.
Start sad and get happy.
Yeah, sorry about the loss of your daughter. And I definitely know of many cases of people talking to me and telling me the changes in their pets, either from the loss of a human companion or the loss of another pet companion in the household. And this is an area of study that we have zero information about. So,
Gotcha.
When animals, they definitely go through grieving processes. They can sense changes, I think, that we aren't aware of at all.
Yeah.
And so this is something specifically that I haven't come across.
Right.
A cat that has not been grooming himself. It says, you've taken him to the vet, so I presume that we've ruled out a lot of potential underlying medical causes.
Right.
That would be the first thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, there's definitely been medical issues that have coincided with tragic events, and we find something on lab work or something on x-ray, so that's kind of the easier thing to look into to start. But then, I think there's some questions about husbandry. Is your cat indoor, outdoor?
Right.
Are there enrichment things we could do? Might he benefit or she benefit from another cat?
Yeah.
Maybe. But this might be something, unfortunately, that doesn't ever change. So.
But those are all good suggestions, even if, as my cat comes over and is like, hey, you're talking about me? All good suggestions, I think, for just general cat depression. Do you, I guess not in the emergency room, but what are your thoughts on, cat Xanax?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. There's a lot of cats, not necessarily, so Xanax is used, the actual Xanax drug, in dogs and cats, and it's not great.
Yeah.
But there are some behavioral modification medications that are used in cats. So Prozac is one of the more common ones, but there's some others that definitely are fairly safe as far as we know. We have a hard time interpreting when your cat might be having suicidal thoughts, but we think they're fairly safe, and something else that could be trialed if there's no underlying medical conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I'd love to get Nixie and Stevie. Well, they're not depressed. They're happy as can be. But it'd be fun to match my Prozac with theirs. Have an extra stash.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's go to a fun question. Do you think pets can really see ghosts from a spooky poochie?
I can tell you that I've seen my dog stare at the ceiling
Yeah.
oddly at things that may or may not be.
You live in an old haunted house?
It's not super.
Okay.
It's been renovated, and it's not the classic.
Yeah.
I think it was actually when I was living in a studio in an old. Used to be hospital building, so that was where I was like, oh, there might be something here. So yeah, me personally, I do. I think they sense vibrations. I think they sense things, even maybe they're not seeing it. but I personally do, but I think we'll never know.
Yeah, that's probably another one where it's like hard to study unless we invent a pet translator.
Yeah, there's more anecdotal stories of, people who have had pets with them in a room when they are putting to sleep another pet of theirs.
Right.
And the pet that is still alive, kind of following to the ceiling, something that might be perceived as like the soul. So there's, I think that's a thing.
Wild. Well, so that relates to another question here. Do pets know when you are putting them down? I don't know if you have as much experience with that. But
actually, a lot, yeah. So that is one of the other things we do a lot, is to make sure that we are available for when people reach a point where, they feel the quality of life is so poor or their pet is imminently going to pass away. They want to give them the gift of euthanasia instead.
Yeah.
And so that, I can tell you from my experience, the process for my particular work location is we will usually take a pet and place an ID first without the owner. And those animals don't appear to be any more stressed or less stressed than any of the other ones. So they're all stressed because they're in a place they've never been.
Right.
And we make an effort to get them back with their people as soon as possible. I definitely think there are animals that during the process pass away sooner rather than, later, I guess. So what that would imply to me is some are ready.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're cognizant of what's going to happen,
Yeah.
per se.
I mean, I think that's probably a good thing, though. And I know, plug for Dove Lewis, my good friend, recently had to put her cat down and went to you guys. And I guess she's also been able to go to, like, group counseling.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You all take it really, it's not just the medical procedure, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I think people grieve pets just like they do humans.
Yeah.
But there's not as much space for that process in our culture, society.
Yeah.
So, people tell me like, oh, my boss told me to take all the time I need, or like, my boss doesn't understand why I'm late to work today because I'm here. So there's a huge variation in acceptance.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of that, Lisa asks, how do you feel about people treating their pet like it's their child?
So I presume that is, so my perspective is like, you're dressing your dog in a sweater and it's in a stroller and it goes to everywhere with you. So I think that there is a big spectrum of pet care. So I think we all have people in our lives, maybe our parents or older family members, that never let the dog on the couch or never let the cat inside. It was only outdoors, and rarely provided veterinary care, and when it got sick, considered euthanasia versus a lot of expensive medical treatment. And there is definitely a movement in our society, which is one of the reasons why I think emergency hospitals are so busy. People want better care, and I think that's fantastic. So I think that there is the other side of the story, which is, do we do too much for too long? Do we go too far? And I think that that's less common than the story of, hey, you should probably follow up on this condition, or this is a long-term management condition.
It's like all things, moderation is best.
I like this question because it kind of touches on the ethics of owning animals, and I think that's a very fascinating topic. Do we provide animals all of the stimulation that we need? Do cats need to go outside to be happy and get stimulation? As a veterinarian, we see so many injuries, and of course it affects the environment. So there's so many pros and cons, and a lot of discussion to like, are we providing animals with appropriate stimulation?
What do you think is the best, I guess, route to getting cats outside, but keeping them safe? I've seen a lot of the catios.
Yeah, catios are fantastic, and I think that that's the best option. There are also harnesses. You can kind of harness and leash train your cat,
which is hard. We tried it with Nixie, and she just flop, like do the full cat belly flop.
Paralyzed, harness paralysis. But even for people people downplay it to me, which I totally understand. Like, oh, well,
Right.
he only goes out for 5 minutes on the porch. You know, he's
Yeah.
only out for an hour every day. But those are the cats that also come back with some injury that I then am
Right.
dealing with. So, what else was I going to touch on? Oh, speaking of like treating like children, so there's also a movement to create kind of a society where pets are under guardianship. So have the rights
Interesting.
of people to potentially get medical treatment regardless of cost,
Right.
to be able to have emotional damages for pets. So a potential like litigation that could result in, you know, $1 million settlements,
Yeah.
like in human medicine.
Right.
And I am pretty against that for the reason that it would dramatically increase the cost of care
Yes.
of medicine, and therefore pets would all need to have insurance, and it would just go down that
Yeah.
system.
And it's probably, I mean, I know we would probably not be able to afford pet insurance.
Sure.
And they're indoor cats. It's
Yep.
like they have a very low risk for either injury or illness at this point because they're fairly young.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they love to scratch up the little couch. Luckily, we got this from someone with a dog who had already done it,
Excellent.
so it's like it's fine,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, we have, of course, a lot of options for trying to get either preventative care or emergency care
Right.
covered, and I think my biggest recommendation is to have a savings account just like you do for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that there are certainly people that like they can barely save enough for themselves to have an emergency fund, right? And I don't think that means they shouldn't have a pet. I think that there's a
Yeah.
lot of pets that are happier with people than in the shelter, for
Yes.
instance. But that's something to consider, is to have, you know,
That's
even
a
if it's
great
a couple
idea.
$100s, then
Yeah.
you don't think twice when you need to, you know, get some blood work done or something like that.
Right. Great idea. Just to answer this question personally, I do treat our cats like they're babies because I've got major baby fever right now. And my mom was she knows I have an IUD. Maria, if you're listening to this, like, you still got 2 years on that shit. But when we got Stevie, she was like, oh, another grand kitty. She loves him more than anyone. And I'm like, there you go. Oh, there she goes, too. Stevie just jumped, knocked over a cup of water. I think it was empty, luckily. But yeah, I do find it interesting in Portland specifically how people kind of, it's like they're treating their kids or their dogs as pets, but then it's like you're bad parents, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like, I've been at 2 different parks in the last month where people were outside the dog park with their dogs off of leashes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah. It's interesting, and
Yeah.
people are, of course, very defensive of their pets, and
Right.
they love them very much. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Fascinating.
it's fascinating.
Let's see. Okay, Kitty Cat Meow 93, aka my good friend Catherine Reed, asks, how come dogs and cats sleep so damn much?
Well, I would argue that we would sleep a lot more if we didn't have our society built around our day-to-day life. But I think, so I would say that cats definitely sleep more than dogs. But it totally depends on the breed, right? So there's certainly dogs that will bug you nonstop until you take them for their 10-mile daily run, right? And then there's dogs on the other breed side that are happy to laze around all day. So I think that that's probably, and I am not saying that your pug used to be a wolf, but I will say that, you know, a lot of wild canids and felids also sleep a lot. So I think that they're used to sleeping most of the time and then exerting energy to hunt when they need to, and then conserving that energy when they're not. So for better or for worse, maybe that's why your pets do that at home.
And honestly, I'd rather have them sleeping than what they're doing now, which is like posturing and trying to top each other.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let's see, what other questions? What should I look for when I'm picking out a hamster? That is from Emily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I do see a lot of, they're considered exotic animals. Really anything but a cat or a dog. Even chickens are kind of considered exotic.
Right.
I'm no expert, but I kind of know my way around a hamster.
I love it.
So I would say it's not so much as what you're looking for when you pick out a hamster, but kind of what to expect when you get one. So making sure that the husbandry is right, and when I say that, I mean the food you're feeding. So a lot of the pet stores have these really colorful like seed diets with all the nice shapes, and those are garbage. It's
fascinating.
It's like hamster candy. So if you feed, versus kind of the pelleted diets, which look boring but have uniform nutrition.
Boring food is usually better for you.
Yeah. Same thing with bedding, and hamsters sometimes only live to be a couple of years old. So preparing yourself for that. But I honestly, I was gonna say get pets from rescues or humane societies. And, I don't know if like Oregon Humane Society has hamsters. I know they have rabbits. And so you may be finding yourself at a pet store picking out a hamster, and that's totally fine. And we had a hamster that we illegally bought in college and smuggled into our dorm. Gracie May, rest in peace. But she lived, actually she kind of ran herself out from exertion, I think. Okay. Like on a hamster wheel stuff?
Yeah, because she was my friend Chloe got her, realized she couldn't take care of her, and I've always, my parents had shitty dogs. We never really returned pets or took them. I was like, you can't return the hamster to PetSmart. That's not fair.
Right.
And so I took it in, and then she'd just run all night, and one night she's just going crazy, and then it stopped. And I realized next morning, I was like, oh my God, Gracie May. So I'm sure some gardeners at our dorm dug her up and were like, what the fuck?
So I got gerbils when I was in college. Yeah. Similar deal. And I was in vet school or about to go to vet school at the time, so I did find a gerbil rescue. It was quite literally a rescue that solely took and rehomed gerbils. So there might be a hamster resource like that somewhere. Rescue a hamster, yeah. But I don't have much to say about what you look for when you go to the store. Yeah. Pick a nice color. Never get the smallest anything.
Right. She was a dwarf hamster. Yeah. And so I'm sure that was why.
For sure, and people love the runts, right? But,
right. Yeah. Oh, okay, last question. We're just blowing through these. I love it. Meow often should you sneak into your cat's email to make sure they aren't plotting against you?
Probably once an hour.
Once an hour? Whoa. I was going to say once a week.
Oh,
check
man.
in.
If your cat has an email, I think it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. It's too late.
Well, this has been such an informative episode of Take Some Molly. We ran through this. Lindsay, do you have anything else you want to share with people of general advice?
Yeah, so I guess if we were to talk about kind of the most common questions, what do I feed my dog or what do I feed my cat? That's a huge one. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a dog food or a cat food that your animal likes and they are doing great on it, that's totally fine. There is a kind of overseeing organization called AFCO that will certify foods to have the minimum nutrient standards. So that will say it right on the bag. We are seeing some new kind of heart disease in dogs, what we think is secondary to the kind of grain-free trend. So
interesting.
The grain-free diets are very equivalent to gluten-free in people. Okay. It's very trendy. It's really great marketing. Right. But there's actually now some research that says that might not be the best thing. So
because it's higher in fats.
Well, grains are they are a good source of nutrients for dogs and cats, and there are some dogs that might do better without grain as far as allergies or skin coats, but it's a pretty small percentage. And so just be careful. There's a lot of advertising money that goes into pet food, as you can imagine. And your dog is, like I said, not a wolf.
Right.
They're very adapted to being domesticated.
Is there a dry food you recommend for people that's a number one, or just an affordable food, I guess? Because that's the other thing with the natural, it can get really pricey.
Yeah, and every once in a while I go into the pet store because I feel I need to be informed. And the bags are beautiful. There's like these like shiny foil bags. And they all have wolves or cats. It's crazy. Yeah. But so I can tell you, I feed my dog a diet by Royal Canin.
Okay.
Royal Canin, Hills Pet Nutrition, Purina, and IAMS. Those are the only 4 companies that do clinical feeding trials. So that means that they, for better or for worse, have colony dogs that they will feed that diet for 3 years and say, like, these dogs had normal calcium levels and whatever. Right. Whereas the boutique brands don't have that resource, and so they don't know what would happen if they fed that diet to a dog for 3 years. It probably would be okay. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I like that. I'm a scientist. I like to have the research behind it. That does not mean that there are not other diets that animals can't do well on. But my dog's done great with that food, and I get a discount. There you go. What else do you need? Yeah, that's I think there's some really affordable Purina and IAMS diets that are...
And they're going towards the natural trend, too. That's a cool thing with big brands is they're responding to the consumers who want that, so you can kind of get the best of both worlds.
I think people get into trouble with homemade diets, for sure.
Yeah.
They just published a study in a veterinary journal stating that they looked at, I think it was 100 or 120 recipes for maintenance cat diets that are some are published by veterinarians. Wow. And their analysis when they made those diets, as the recipe stated, was that none of them met the standards, like 0.
Wow.
That shocked me because I thought, oh God, even like I know that homemade diets probably don't have everything they need, but like, oh, well, why don't you just throw a multivitamin in there? It's probably good.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so don't home make your pet's food. Also, like, save yourself some time.
And money, right? Like, people, raw diets, same thing. Raw diets are expensive, and definitely see a lot of animals with diarrhea on raw diets.
Oh, interesting. Is that dangerous too for pets, or not as much than like as humans because they have the wolf and...
It is as dangerous. So, I mean, I don't think they're gonna die, right? If they get salmonella or E. coli, same as a person. Like, if you get food poisoning, you're gonna have a bad couple days, but you'll probably be fine.
Right.
But there is a risk for humans that are preparing their animals raw food. So people that aren't using, it is raw meat. So if you're putting it on your cutting board or whatever, you put it in your pet's bowl and then you don't wash the bowls, like, there's a lot of contamination that can occur. Yeah. So, again, not that animals can't do well on that, and I certainly have seen animals that have a lot of skin issues or something go on a raw diet and do really well, but there has to be a lot of thought put into that.
For sure. Any other tips and tricks? I don't know.
I'm trying to think. So if I get asked about food a lot, I don't know. I get a lot of behavior questions, and honestly,
I was just gonna ask.
I'll be upfront that we don't get a ton of behavioral instruction in vet school. There's a movement about that too, kind of like fear-free handling, and in the veterinary community, trying to make things less stressful. We sedate a lot of animals, like purely because we don't want to stress them out, and that's sometimes the best way to go about it. And so, I think there's, behavioral issues. Dog parks, I think that brings up a lot of behavioral issues.
Yes.
Dog parks can be a little scary because it's just, you never know who's going to show up.
What do you think is the best way to kind of ease your dog into that socialization, especially if you've got them at home alone, like not
That's a good
with
question.
other dogs?
I think that controlling the environment's a bit important. So, I've taken my dog to 1,000 acres and it's great, but you just have no idea who's going to be there. So if you're, I know it's expensive, but if you can, do dog daycare or situations where, like, you're pretty sure that all the dogs have had some type of screening, maybe, and there's people that are overseeing the organization, is probably the best way to ease into it before just throwing your dog in a dog park. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it's fine.
And I'm sure you'll know if you've rescued a dog and they have behavioral issues, and just keep that in mind. Do you think it's good for people like, say I've got a dog and my friend has a dog that are well behaved, to kind of start there maybe if you don't have the money for dog daycare?
Yeah, 100%. You can
Cool.
find someone's fenced yard to put them in.
Yeah.
And, that's a great idea.
Sweet.
Yeah. Kind of your self-screening for your dog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've learned so much.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
Do you have any burning questions?
I don't think so. Yeah, we got all our paper questions. If you guys have other questions, I'm sure you'd be willing to answer them. Do you want to plug anything or tell us about something rad that Dove Lewis is doing, or you?
Yeah. First of all, I would be happy to answer your questions if you send me more. I don't think I have much. I love my job. I love the work Dove Lewis does. Your veterinarian is here to help you. Yeah. And find a veterinarian you trust. It's just like a human doctor. So I've personally been through a few human doctors, just like, you know what, we don't kind of get along, or I don't feel heard. It's really important that you're feeling heard. But they're definitely not going to recommend anything that they wouldn't do for their own animal.
Yeah.
So, I think at least getting and I feel like this is like a shameless plug, but at least getting your pet to the vet once a year, just to make sure you're up to date and have all the information you need. There's a lot of things that your veterinarian can recommend to help screen and diagnose diseases before they become a problem. Yeah. And so,
Okay.
I think that pets are so great.
I actually did just think of a question.
Oh, yeah.
So Nixie and Stevie both get these little scabs behind their ears.
Oh, sure.
Is that just from scratching, or should I be worried about that?
It is from scratching, and so the question would be, why is that happening?
Yeah.
The area you're describing behind the ears, I don't want to freak you out, but is usually flea-driven. Oh, no. And so even indoor cats, the fleas in this region are horrible because it never freezes, right? They never die. So maybe trying a monthly flea prevention regimen.
Do need to do that. I'm going to write this down now.
That may help you out, and it's very common even for indoor-only cats to come see me on emergency, and we're like, did you know your cat has fleas? And then, that's horrible. Horrible to find out. Yeah,
Nixie just like one morning, actually after I lost my Portland's Funniest, be getting around, wake up and there's like eggs everywhere.
Oh, gross.
And I think it was one of our neighbors, because like somebody else was getting all their carpet removed.
Okay.
And it was like, great.
Yeah.
Dealing with this hungover and sad.
I'm so sorry. Apartments can be difficult because you're so close to everyone else. Yeah. But animals can have a true flea allergy too, so they don't have to be totally infested to start itching. Right. It takes a couple. So I wonder if that's what you're experiencing.
Maybe.
I don't think you should be super concerned about that unless the itching is out of control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're beautiful kittens.
They are, and now they're sitting on the computer and probably pausing the recording. Why do cats sit on keyboards and computers? They like the warmth?
Yeah, probably. Okay. Yeah. And they
Another
just want to
mystery.
annoy you.
Yeah.
Cats want to be with you. Yes. Well, a lot of them. Some of them don't.
Yeah. Are you more of a cat person or a dog person?
I'm more of a dog person. I am. I truthfully am actually allergic to cats to some degree. So
I'm sorry you're inhaling.
Oh, no, I manage it with medication, which is maybe it was a poor career choice. Right. But I'm partial to dogs.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on today. This has been awesome. Let's see. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening so you can stay up to date and keep getting these rad facts and advice. And then follow me at Molly Golightly on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can visit mollysmithson.com to sign up for your own email to find out when there's a new podcast out, or ask your own question. And I will forward those along to you if they're pet related. So that'll be fun. Yeah. We can do a little follow-up.
I can't wait to get some more questions. And it's so grateful that you've had me on.
Oh, thanks so much, Lindsay. Everybody, you rule. We'll talk to you later. Bye.